championship pedigree is a real thing. And there's more to that. You have Megan Sloan's on this team. Her dad played on the '87 team. Her grandfather is an NBA Hall of Famer. Jeff Oliphant's daughter is coming to play next year. He was on the '87 national championship team. Emily Fitzner's coming next year. Her brother plays for the basketball team. Great correlation there of leaning from one program that has nothing but a gigantic legacy and history to try to build your own. So,
is that something this program did intentionally, you think, or just kind of just happened?
It just happened because you've got a new coach. I mean, their coaches. This is his first year. And he had nothing to do with Ashley Benson. She was already gone. But no, it's just time. Time's working out. But it's also because those guys were great athletes. Their fathers were great athletes, and they're great athletes. But they have to do their own thing. I mean, Ashley Benson, it was great and all that her father was an All-American basketball player, but that doesn't translate to the volleyball court other than being an athlete. And so everything she did on her own. And again, man, that's something. Becoming an All-American in the school that's like being an All-American basketball player at Hofstra or, Fairfield or just some school that is not a Duke or a Kentucky or an Indiana or a Kansas or any of those programs. When they come from there, yeah, you get it. But it's tough to do what she did, and so it's amazing. But we'll look forward to hearing from all those guys in the next hour as well. Hey, hit us up on the text line, 812-269-6367. Let us know what your thoughts, comments are. If you have any questions for Todd Leary or Drew Davis today or coming on the program, fire those away, man. I didn't get to that earlier. Sorry, I should have. But yeah, feel free to always do that. Text line's always open, so you never have to worry about that. Justin's always at the ready. Butler will come in tonight to play volleyball against Indiana. That's at 7 o'clock in Wilkinson Hall. Everything is free. Come out and check that out. Well, we got recruiting information, man, this weekend. Anthony Harris will be on campus today at Indiana as he is finishing up trying to find a new home. Originally committed to Virginia Tech, but Buzz Williams left there, headed to Texas A&M, took the job, and so he got his release, and now he is on his way out. All 5 of his finalists, UNC, Maryland, I forget the other 2, but all the coaches met with him last Friday, I believe, at his school, and he is on a visit today at Indiana this weekend, and then he will go to Chapel Hill for a visit Monday and Tuesday. So Archie's got a shot to land a big-time recruit here.
I know you're a big fan of Indiana getting the last word. Does it worry you at all that UNC is getting the second visit as opposed to the first?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I mean, it's not that I keep the fandom out. But I think that it's an advantage. I always think it's an advantage having the last word, but not necessarily, because you can have the last word, and that one thing could happen that you're like, and that'll stick in your mind. So, you know what? I'm sure there's plenty of recruits that did not go to the last place they visited. So, things work out the way they work out. If he wants to go, if he likes what he sees from Archie Miller and the staff in Indiana and the program in Indiana, that's where he'll end up. It's a situation. A lot of it, when it comes down to an Indiana, North Carolina, it's a coin toss when you come to, they both have 5 national championships. They're both very prominent programs, obviously. You got the ACC in North Carolina. You got the Big Ten in Indiana. So it's going to come down to a personal fit. What works out best for him? And fortunately for Indiana, I believe North Carolina is waiting on another player who may fill that same bill for them to make a commitment. It's either for his position or Lester Quinones, which Lester will be on a visit next week in Indiana. So Indiana's going to have back-to-back weekend visits from very prominent guards that landing both would be extraordinary because they don't play the same position. And both of these players would be very, very good pieces to add to the program. I mean, Lester Quinones is more of a shooter, and pretty sure that I could use that. As last year they shot I think 31% from behind the arc. That's horrific. I mean, that's horrific, and I don't understand it. I'm going to be honest with you. I can't get it because it's not about strength. It's not about skill. These guys have it. What's going on that they can't? Because I sit there and watch women's games and watch them just casually knocking down three-pointers like it's nothing. And I'm like, okay, you look at the guys, and it's not that they're better in one way, but they're stronger because it's just it's just a physiological fact. They're stronger, so they have a little advantage in that regard. But women don't have any problems knocking the three down. They don't have any problem knocking free throws down. You know why? It's between your ears. It's simply between your ears. And I think women spend more time on fundamentals than the men do. I think men are more concerned with being flashy. Because watch how fundamentally sound the good women's teams, watch how fundamentally sound they are.
You know, and that's what it comes down to. I mean, you mentioned strength in terms of threes. I don't know that has much to do with it, to be honest with you. It's just they don't have the same accuracy. And it doesn't look as easy for them a lot of times, especially now I'm talking especially about this Indiana team. But, yeah, they've got to have a knockdown shooter. And you mentioned Quinones. He can shoot. Anthony Harris even can shoot the three ball. So those two will definitely help. I want Harris bad. I think he would be a great fit at Indiana.
And this is not because of anything I've been told. I think that I just have the feeling that it's going to work out well for Indiana. I think that, and I think mainly because I think it's going to be a better fit for him. I think that he's going to look at the need of Indiana being much greater than the need of North Carolina for his services. North Carolina, they won him. Indiana needs him. Big difference. Yeah. And I think that if that comes through, which I'm sure that it will, but if that comes through, then that's going to be his decision maker for him. Of course, hey, I'm not in his head. I'm not there with him. I'm not going to be on the visit with him, so can't speak for him. This is simply an educated guess, but I think because the need is much greater, and he may see Indiana as a program on the rebirth and a great program, and wants to be a part of that because you see that a lot. A lot of guys they like being a part of a redemption story, and I don't know if redemption's the right word, but turning it around and getting it headed in the right direction because this is where Indiana's going right now. But it doesn't take long for that to happen when you get the right parts in place. And, man, they could do quite well if pieces fall together. If the puzzle pieces fall in place like Jerome Hunter managing to get back and be able to play because dude's a baller. The dude is a baller, and, man, did they miss him last year. People don't understand how much they missed him, and they won't understand how much they missed him until he gets back on the court. And once he's back on the court and people can see his game, they're like, oh, man, that would have been good to have last year. Yeah, he can shoot. He can do a lot of things. He's a tough handle, man. He's so versatile. That's the thing. He's very versatile. Indiana just did not have that last year. They did not have that guy. They did not have the guy that was that versatile, that could shoot the three, that could drive to the rim, that could play with some bigs.
That can defend.
Yeah, they could do all of those things, and he can do all of those things. He was definitely the most all-around recruit that they had. And I think he would have been as valuable as Romeo because of his versatility. But we'll see what he can do if he's able to get back. Hopefully he will be able to get back. that would be a huge boost. Hey, we've got a lot more coming up. Todd Leary's on the show. Drew Davis is on the show. We're going to hear from Indiana's volleyball program as they have a game tonight. Stay tuned. We got tons coming up here from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Indiana Sports Beat back with more right after this.
Give it away now. Give it away, give it away, give it away now. Give it away, give it away, give it away now. What can't tell them from a kiss and a bumper. Beating it up, people in the sea of distress. Give you more to receive your less. Unimpressed by material excess. Love is.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, you want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
This hour is brought to you by Sweetland Waste and Removal Service, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying high
Well, come on along and welcome into Indiana Sports Beat here on this Friday. Thanks a lot for taking us along wherever you're going, whatever you may be doing. We appreciate you taking Indiana Sports Beat along for the ride. Coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Friday. We've got Justin and Jake at the ready. Hope you're having a good day. Todd Leary on the program today, along with Drew Davis. We've got some stuff to talk about, recruiting. Otherwise, Indiana volleyball team in action tonight. Before we get to all that, let's get to the headlines.
All right, here are your Daily Hoosier headlines for this 19th day of April 2019. As IU women's golfer Mary Parsons won Big Ten Golfer of the Week for this past week. Baseball and softball with a tough series this weekend as baseball travels to Michigan State for a 3-game series, and softball will travel to Wisconsin for a 3-game series as well. Those are a look at your Daily Hoosier headlines on this 19th day of April 2019. For more information, be sure to check out thedailyhoosier.com.
Hey, welcome back in. Busy weekend for Indiana teams, that's for certain. You just heard Justin talk about the baseball and softball. Baseball traveling to East Lansing. They're on an 8-game heater, baby. They've won 8 straight. They're number 20 in the RPI. They lead the nation in home runs with 66. They got it going. And hopefully they can sweep Sparty, because Sparty's 0-8 in Big Ten play. They're 9-25 overall. Not good at all. But, man, baseball, you just never know. It's still hard to sweep a team. I don't care. This is major college, so it doesn't matter. But hopefully they can get that done. If they would, that would put them on an 11-game winning streak heading into a game at Victory Field next Tuesday against Ball State, a team they shellacked at home this past Tuesday. And they've got some big games coming up. A week after the Ball State game, a Tuesday, a week from this coming Tuesday, they travel to Lexington to take on Kentucky and then a week after that, that following Tuesday, they're back home against Louisville. Louisville is a top 4 RPI team, or one of the top teams in the country. And right now, if things ended, Indiana would probably be in the NCAA tournament in a region in Louisville with Kentucky. So things kind of coming all together there. So we'll see how that works out. But I wish them well up in East Lansing this weekend. Hopefully Jeff Mercer and crew can keep things rolling. Tonight, the volleyball team, volleyball is a fall sport, so this is an exhibition game, but they take on Butler tonight at 7 o'clock at Wilkinson Hall, their brand new home. If you're looking for something to do, take the family out too, head to Bloomington, Wilkinson Hall, the volleyball team. Take it on Butler at 7 o'clock, free admission, free parking. Kind of a cool venue, man. I was there earlier this week. I got to talk to a lot of the participants, Coach Steve Aird, doing a remarkable job with the volleyball program. Volleyball, obviously not a sport that you heard a ton about at Indiana. Not a lot of history there, not a lot of legacy yet. They're attempting to change that. Steve Aird has done that in other places. He came from Maryland, horse in the Big Ten. So kind of surprised those people when he left. But this was a unique opportunity for him. And they've got a brand new facility. He wanted to get to the Midwest, which is the hotbed of recruiting, the hotbed of good volleyball players, and he thinks that he can make something big here. And his impact was felt immediately last year. They ended up with a winning record coming off of the season that was not the case. Recruiting has gone very well. He had Megan Sloan come in. You've got Emily Fitzner coming next year, amongst others. So everything is looking in a very positive direction, but it's a process. And you've got to do a lot of things to get it done. And I had the opportunity to talk to Coach Aird, and let's hear what he had to say.
The most important thing that I do is get my hands in all of it. I mean, I've famously said before, I like volleyball. I love building programs. And this is such a cool opportunity to do that. And I think you've got world-class people here who want to help. But my goal for the program is not only for the athlete to play at a place that's unreal and have fun every day and develop to their potential, but from the time someone parks comes into the arena, from what they eat, where they sit, what they see, music, communication from the program, all of that stuff matters. And if you're building a business or building a team in this day and age, you better be in tune to all of it. You know, X's and O's on a napkin are fun. And I'd like to say I spend a lot of time on that and a lot of time on recruiting. That stuff matters. But the rest of it, I think, is the secret sauce, man. I think you got to be able to put on a good show. We're in the entertainment business. And I want people to have a great time coming to the volleyball games. I want to win more than we lose, obviously, but I want people to be in love with the process of what we're building, and then the environment on match night, and have a real connection to the kids. We got some amazing human beings that are on the roster. Great kids. They work hard. The more the town, the IU community gets to know them and how hard they go, the connection helps, and then they pull for them, and you can do some pretty special stuff.
Coach Steve Aird there talking about the program that he's building at Indiana, and that's exactly what he is doing, building a program. It's a program that did not have a legacy before he arrived. They had very little success, had one All-American, Ashley Benson. We'll actually hear from her in a minute, but and he has to do a lot of stuff. I mean, he's a carnival barker. He's the concessions guy. He decides, hey, let's do this, or the game day management. The music, let's do this and do that. And he's just got a lot of things that he is involved in addition to the coaching aspect and the recruiting aspect, which are the two major components. But there's a lot more that goes into this when you're trying to be known, when you're trying to be a destination, and that's what he's trying to build. And building programs is what he's done, and he's done it well in the past. So let's also hear from what Coach Steve Aird had to say.
A lot harder if the town, the administration, the school, and the state didn't support what we're doing. I think they're all behind it. I think some of the best volleyball players in the country come from Indiana. You look at some of the top college programs in the country, and they've got 2 or 3 kids from the state on the team having tons of success. I think the town is supportive of IU athletics across the board, but I think the administration and everyone here is ready for it to take the next step. Obviously, with the new arena and the support they provided, I think that's been good. I think the buy-in from the team has been good. Recruiting's going well. I think patience, right? Patience is a big deal, but when you see the history and the legacy in so many of the programs at IU and how well they've done and how programs have come out over the last 10, 15 years and had great success, and you look at what baseball's done, what women's basketball's doing, I think there's no reason why we can't get it done.
And I know it's just a building, but how important is a brand new building to building a foundation on building this program?
Well, it's a statement from the administration, the school, and the department that says we value this, we care about it. And I think when you recruit, when you're at that table with 4 or 5 of the other top programs in the country, what you want to do is be able to say we have absolutely everything that you need to reach your goals. Not only academically, that's a no-brainer at IU, but athletically, can I become a professional? Can I become an Olympian? Can I train in the best place to train? I think we have everything that the athlete needs now. And part of that is what they've supported them with the new football stadium additions and Tobias and the nutrition and sports medicine. That's all unreal. But in terms of just flat out getting it done and training and going to work every day, this is as good as it gets.
Coach Steve Aird for IU's volleyball program gives you an indication of what all's involved in going on there, because most of the time when we get to speak to coaches, it's mainly just about the game, the program. But this was a little more in depth because he's actually building this program, literally. So it's awesome to hear the inner workings and the different things that they go on. But the recruiting has been phenomenal. He had a transfer in last year from Louisville, Megan Sloan, but probably would have been at Indiana had circumstances been different. She would have been there already, but was able to transfer in, and that's been a great pickup for them. But also that name should ring true to a lot of Indiana fans. Her father's Brian Sloan. He played on the 1987 National Championship basketball team for Indiana. So obviously, great athletes can certainly come from great athletes, and that is no doubt there. She is a phenomenal player and a great pickup by Coach Steve Aird in this program. But I got a chance to talk to Megan. Let's hear what she had to say.
Now, Indiana volleyball, a brand new building, you got a brand new coach, a lot of brand new things going on, and a lot of things that are exciting. There's a lot of excitement around this program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's drawing in so many recruits. Like, people see that this place is changing, and people want to be a part of something that's great.
Talk about what Coach Aird has brought to this program. Obviously, he came over from previous programs that he built it, had some great winning traditions, and now he's coming over here. How do you see that playing out for Indiana?
Yeah, I mean, he's a great coach. He knows exactly what he's talking about. He comes from winning programs at Penn State, and he has so much energy, and he recruits people that have the same energy, and I think that's awesome for the program.
What are you looking forward to next year for this team?
I think there's a lot to look forward to. We have a lot of good freshmen coming in. We have a lot of good recruits coming in, and I think that when we put it all together this summer, we'll be really good.
What are people going to see, the fans that are not, of course, used to?
There, Coach Megan Sloan talking about Coach Ard and the program that's being built there, and all the recruits that are coming in. Phenomenal. As I said, you've got Emily Fitzner coming in next year, who's the sister of Evan Fitzner, playing on the basketball team now. Jeff Oliphant's daughter coming in next year, a great athlete. He played on the national championship team. So a great connection of great athletes at Indiana. And then to top that off, the only All-American in the history of Indiana volleyball. And let me restate how difficult it is to get enough recognition to become an All-American at a school that has zero recognition in a sport at that time. It's phenomenal to me. But Ashley Benson, also a great lineage. Her father was Kent Benson, who was an All-American at Indiana in basketball, led Indiana to an undefeated season in 1976. So it's awesome to see this. It's incredible to see that lineage of IU athletes continue down through the ages. But I got a chance to talk to Ashley as well. Let's hear what she had to say.
Building a little bit more, a different culture. I think in the past it was more about staying true to the traditions of IU, even though we didn't really have traditions in the volleyball program. I feel like Coach Ard is trying to bring a little bit more outside influences as well with the students, and the music that plays during practice or even during the games. It kind of just brings a new kind of page, new turn to the book on Indiana volleyball. So
Ashley Benson, the only All-American in the history of IU volleyball. She's still around the program. She was a volunteer coach for a while, and she's not doing that now. But she's still there. She's still available to those players, and she likes being a part of that, offering that assistance up as she can. And again, that you need that to build programs. You look, it doesn't matter what kind of athletic program it is. You want your former athletes to be around, especially your former great athletes to be around. You want that greatness to rub off. You want your players to talk to them. And when we were talking, something she mentioned too, I was asking her about something different, but she said that, I asked her about the difficulty of becoming an All-American in a sport at a place that doesn't have the recognition. And I said, how difficult was that? And she goes, well, it's not a good question for me, but it would probably be a good question for the teammates that I played with, for them to talk about that I showed up every day. She said that, every practice was a game to her. And that she took every practice like it was a game. And not everybody has that drive, but that's why she was an All-American. But as if you're a coach, I'm quite certain Steve Ard is very happy to have someone like her or just be around to have his current players talk to that and understand that level of commitment, because that's what it takes. No matter who we're talking about or what we're talking about, it's a level of commitment. Greatness takes commitment. And it seems like they're building that there. We look forward to it. Hey, that's going to wrap that segment up. We got a lot more coming up. Got a lot of basketball to get to. Drew Davis from Peaks.com is going to join us next. A lot of recruiting information. We got a visit this weekend on the Indiana campus for the basketball team. We'll talk about all that and more. Todd Leary joins us on this hour as well. Stay tuned. Indiana Sports Beat coming back from the golf club at Eagle Point Studios.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Leaving home out on the road, I've been down before.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, Indiana Sports Beat, on this kind of a dreary day, and I don't think it's going to get much better. It's cold, it's rainy. It's a good day to listen to Indiana Sports Beat and then roll back over and go to sleep. That's what I'd like to be doing right now, to be quite honest with you. Look forward to Drew Davis joining us here in a little bit. We got some recruiting information to talk about. Indiana's expecting a visit today from Anthony Harris, a guard that was originally committed to Virginia Tech, and then Buzz Williams left for the Texas A&M job, allowed him to open his recruiting back up. I think this is a two-man race between Indiana and North Carolina. He will visit Indiana this weekend, starting today, as a matter of fact. But then Monday, Tuesday, he is in Chapel Hill visiting the Tar Heels. I think this works out good for Indiana. I think that because the need is there for Indiana, the opportunity is there for him. And maybe it's wishful thinking, but I just think that that's how it's going to go down. We'll certainly see. Then next weekend, Lester Quinones, who is a shooter, is expected to be on campus for a visit. He originally was supposed to be here 2 weeks ago or a week ago, but he had to reschedule because of a personal commitment. So he got that rescheduled. He should be in next week. We'll see how that goes. Joker hit us up on the text line about a prospect that is transferring from Kentucky. That he sees as a possibility, and I look forward to talking to Drew about that. Jamal Barker, he's transferring out of UK. He was known as a three-point sharpshooter specialist before he got there. But there's certainly a lot of options out there, and I know Archie would rather land a guy that he expects to be here for a while, that doesn't have to sit out. I'm not sure what his Baker's situation is, whether or not he could become eligible immediately or not. But if he's not a grad transfer, it's probably going to be hard pressed for that to happen. But because there's no coaching change there, and it's just a transfer, it's a run-of-the-mill transfer. So that would be a scholarship getting taken up by someone who's not able to play, and I don't know how much eligibility he has left. But
I think he's just a freshman.
And, they've had a lot of transfers. People, before Keon Brooks committed there, Mike Schumann did a piece that in regards to 4-stars. And the 4-stars that went to Kentucky, that I think there was like 25 of them in that period, but 8 of them transferred. That's a high number because those guys go in there expecting to play, and brother, you got a lot of talent there, and you got a lot of competition. And even though they go there thinking, all right, I may have to sit out this year, but the next year, guess what? They're bringing more in. It's a different system there. It's a kind of a first in, first out situation there, whereas Archie Miller's trying to build a program and get it older, and I think that's one of the reasons why Joey Brunk was very important to get. Not because he's an All-American. He's a solid player, and he was only a sophomore. He finished his sophomore year. He's got 2 years of eligibility left to play. So to me, that is invaluable, having 2 years of an experienced player. He's already an experienced player. He played substantial minutes. He played half the game. So you got a very experienced player, so your team is going to get older. He's a very intelligent player. He's a very intelligent person, period. He's going to be an attorney, and it's been my experience that smart players make less mistakes, and less mistakes lead to more success. You're certainly able to get a lot more accomplished when you don't make the mistakes, and I think that's going to be an invaluable asset that Joey Brunk brings. Like I said, and he's also going to be a great fit for the position that he's filling. And Indiana's going to be able to get back to having guys play positions that are meant for those positions. Juwan Morgan had to play out of position for the last 2 years, basically. He was playing the 5 half the time, and he's not. He's a 4 at best, and it's good to see that they have guys in Deron Davis, Joey Brunk, and he has got some big men now. They got some big boys, and if they can get, you got Trace Jackson Davis, who's kind of a tweener, man. He's a tweener between a 4-5. He can play. He could play that if he had to, but that 4, that's a great spot for him. He's pretty athletic. He can handle the ball, and he's going to get better. And if they can get Jerome Hunter, man, that dude, shoot, he's got a lot of upside, man. If they can get him healthy and playing, it's going to be very important to them. But I think that Anthony Harris coming in today is going to get a grand tour, of course, of a Cook Hall and Assembly Hall, and Indiana's basketball program as a whole. And Archie is going to do his best to sell him on coming to Indiana University. And I think that, but of course, again, like I said earlier, I'm not in this kid's head. We're not on the visit, so don't know. But I just think that the need of Indiana may outweigh the want of North Carolina just simply wanting him. I think that there's going to be possibly a better opportunity for him here, but that's something that he has decide, of course. What is best for him? What's the best fit for him? Because when it comes down to it, all things else are equal. You've got the ACC. That's awesome. It's a great conference. One of the best conferences in the country. You've got the Big Ten. Well, that's awesome. That's one of the best conferences in the country. So his options are nothing but great. Then beside that, you've got North Carolina, Indiana. Both teams have 5 national championships, so these are both blue blood programs that have iconic followings, that have iconic venues, and they're just iconic programs. So he can flip a coin when it comes down to all that stuff. So it's going to come down to his wants and needs and desires, and I think that the opportunity in Indiana may be a little more presentable to him. I just from looking at the situations, but again, that's just me talking out loud. It doesn't mean jack at the end of the day. Well, it all comes down to what Mr. Harris wants, and then you've got Quinones coming in next week. A shooter that Indiana could desperately need. And there's some people who think, oh, they don't really need a baloney. They need somebody that can knock that ball down. Hopefully, Devontae is going to continue. Yeah, couldn't get that out. Hopefully, he's going to be able to knock that out and get there. But that's the key to Indiana getting better recruits, and not hung up on getting these one and dones, these 5 stars. And if you really want to look at it, look at this past Final Four and go back. These one and dones have not really done anything. They've changed the landscape in a different way, but they haven't changed it on a national level. They haven't changed it in building programs. They haven't changed it in programs winning national championships. They're not responsible for any of that. None of that. And what is it that you want? You want to build a program. You want to be in a position to be able to compete for national championships every year. And the one and dones, they didn't do that. And that'll be going away here soon. And those teams that relied on that, they're going to have to go back to the other direction. And I think Kentucky's seeing a little of that problem right now because they're getting, their players are still leaving. They got to fill those players back in. And but that's, a whole other situation. But go ahead.
What a shame for them.
Oh, well, of course. But that's going to wrap that segment up. We've just hopefully that the business go well this weekend, and we'll see how it turns out come Monday. But then, of course, hopefully then we can talk to Drew. I think Drew was not able to make it today, so we'll catch up with him on Monday about all this. We have a lot more to talk about anyway, because right now all there is to do is what I just did, speculate. But we've got Todd Leary coming up next, and I can't wait to talk to Todd about this. It's a different area. He played in a different area. I'm going to talk to him about that. He didn't have transfers on his teams. Those guys were 4-year guys, man. They were there. You got to play with the same guys at all the time. So different situation, and I'll look forward to seeing how he would have reacted or what he thinks about today's environment. But stick with us. Indiana Sports Beat coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back with Todd Leary right after this.
Now I'm back and not ashamed to cry. Ooh, baby, here I am. I'm still delivered. I'm yours. Here I am, baby.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen. a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
It's Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Jim Coyle with you here, Indiana Sports Beat, joined now by our favorite guest on Friday, Todd Leary. Todd, how you doing, brother?
Does that mean I'm the only guest on Friday?
How did you know that?
Yeah, just an educated guess.
No, just kidding. Actually, our favorite guest the entire week. Looking forward to it. Todd, the basketball right now, there's a lot of going on for Indiana recruiting-wise. But recruiting in the offseason has changed so much from when you played. When you were there, guys were 4-year guys. There weren't the grad transfer thing was not a thing. The NCAA transfer portal that I call the trade portal was not a thing. It has changed so much. How do you see the teams, the chemistry and all that stuff changing? Because you guys, like I said, were together for 4 years, 5 years sometimes.
Yeah, the transfer portal, when I first started understanding it and looking at it a little bit, I think I liked it a lot more than I do now. I'm not sure. From Indiana's perspective, I don't think it's worked out to their benefit a ton. I mean, I think it's probably given guys some experiences that maybe they wouldn't have had before, but from a team chemistry or a team success standpoint, I don't know that it's been that great of an impact on them. But, when you look at it overall, or when I look at it overall, and you see the impact it has on some of the, former mid-majors or schools that are always 4-year guys, schools, I think it has a negative impact on them. And that part of it is a little bit weird. But then if you look around and you say you take that statement, and I look at it as a whole. This is one of the best tournaments I can ever remember watching for the NCAA tournament. So I love that side of it. So maybe I just don't understand it completely, or don't understand how it affects some other schools. But the basketball tournament was awesome, and I loved that part of it. There was a lot of transfers on there, and I read through, I think, the top 100 or whatever list I saw the other day, and it's incredible some of the names that are on there. But from Indiana's perspective, I don't know. Obviously we didn't have any of that. We had very little transfer in. I don't think we had any transfer ins. We had a couple of transfer outs, but not very many. So I'm not super sure how in today's world it affects the teams. We just didn't have a whole lot of experience with it.
Yeah, I saw that Matt Painter, Purdue's coach, came out. He's not really in favor of, I think it was the grad transfer deal. And he mentioned exactly what you talked about with the mid-majors, that how it is such an advantage for teams like his or these higher-level Division I teams to be able to pull those guys in and almost cherry-pick to bolster their teams, where those mid-majors, they got their 4-year guys, man. They got who they got. And so he seems to think that's at a disadvantage to him. It's unusual for a coach who is receiving on the beneficial end of that to come out and say that.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's pretty realistic also, and he's I've known him since we were in high school, so he's a pretty honest guy, and he tells things the way that they are, not necessarily the way that people want to hear him. And he's pretty secure with his job too, so he's done a great job, and he can come out and say that kind of stuff. He's not going to take too much heat for it, but you just take a look at some of the guys from the players' perspective. It's given some of them an opportunity to go display their skills on TV, national TV, and in conferences where they wouldn't have been on TV before. So it's kind of weird. I'm giving a political answer because I don't really know if I'm for it or against it. I can see how it can definitely negatively affect some schools as a whole, but I can see how it can positively affect some individual kids.
Yeah, it's probably something that we're going to have to wait 5 years to actually to look back and say, okay, now what are the patterns changed? How has it impacted college sports? Because it's not just basketball, it's football, it's everything. So it's college sports as a whole. So we'll have to look back to see, is it beneficial or is it not beneficial? Because there's so many different sides to it. You've got the sides that takes the players' sides. That, hey, man, they're not getting paid, but these coaches can come and go at will if they want to. Which they have at least made the rule change that is allowing a guy like Anthony Harris, who's going to be on a visit to Indiana today. He was originally committed to Virginia Tech, and then Coach Buzz Williams left for Texas A&M, so he was allowed to be released from that commitment, even though he had signed to play there, and now he can look elsewhere, and that's something Indiana can pick up. And speaking of that, he's a point guard that I think Indiana needs desperately. But you've watched him play all year long with one point guard, and then sometimes they didn't have him when he was out with the concussion. I think it's very, very critical that Indiana land him or someone like him.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that they obviously depth at that position usually doesn't hurt a team, and I think you saw some different circumstances throughout the year where not necessarily Indiana perspective, but you look at a lot of other schools that were very successful, and there might have been 2 point guards, and a lot of times you could say 4 guards overall that were on the floor at one time. So there's a different style of basketball. I think Archie Miller's style of controlling the ball and having 2 guys on the floor that are kind of have a point guard mentality definitely wouldn't hurt anything. You never know someone's skill set until they get to college and play, and I know what they're supposed to be capable of doing, and I'm not speaking of the Harris kid at all. I'm just speaking in generality, but you just never know how a kid's going to play until he gets out there. I think I said all year long with you, I was pleasantly surprised at how easily Robert Finney graduated to the college game, and it didn't seem to be too fast for him, and I thought he adjusted very well. And if you could get another kid that could adjust that well, it would be pretty special to watch what they could do out on the floor together.
Yeah, the one thing I have to say about Rob Finney is follow up. He really seemed like he did push the issue. He took what was given to him to learn and just continually progressed throughout the season. Of course, he had that bump in the middle with the concussion, but he just seemed to grow within that position without trying to do too much.
Yeah, there's we watched enough games together to know I wanted him to try to do a lot more throughout the year. The ball seemed to be safe when it was in his hands, and it seemed to go through the basket when it left his hands and for shots. So I really I was hoping he would try to become a little bit more selfish, but it just says how much more of a team player he is and how good he would have been a awesome Coach Knight type player. Coach Knight would have absolutely loved Rob Hennessy.
Yeah, and speaking of those days, I was looking. Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier made a post the other day that he was looking at the three-point shooting from the 2013 team, and Christian Watford was 48%. It was great. He had Jordan Halls, it was 40%, and Victor Oladipo. And I said, dude, you need to look back at the teams from the late 80s and the early 90s, those teams you were on. And Jay Edwards shot 57% from three one year. 57%. How is that humanly possible?
Yeah. Well, that's why he thought he was ready to go to the NBA that quickly. It was a little different of a thing back then. He'd have probably been drafted in the top 4 if he did that in today's world. But it's just it was different. I mean, there was a more of an emphasis on being more of a well-rounded player. I do not know the stats, but I bet if you looked at some of our teams, between 91 and 94, we probably had, not just on the team, but we probably had 3 or 4 guys that all shot over 40% from three on the floor all the time.
Well, let me tell you this. From about the time you got there, at least until you left, the team shot between 40 and 47%. The entire team.
Yeah.
That's mind-boggling
to
me.
Yeah, that's not surprising, but it was just, that's what we recruited. I mean, luckily I was included in that group, but luckily, Coach Knight looked for guys who could kind of do everything, maybe not particularly great at one thing, but could do a lot of different things on the floor. So that was just one of the benefits of being able to play for him.
Well, shooting the ball was definitely something you guys did well, all of you. You were one of those group that just shot the lights out. And I think that is something, man, until Indiana gets some guys that can do that, I think that they're not going to be able to get to that elite status. Because we talk about Virginia, Indiana runs the pack line, and Virginia runs the pack line defense. But Virginia was number 7 in the country in three-point shooting this year. A huge, huge difference when you got great defense and great offense. Great things are going to happen.
Yeah, and there's no doubt. Offense has, I think a lot of people looked at Virginia, a lot of the analysts, and especially a lot of the Clark Kellogg's and the Kenny Smiths and those guys when it came down to the end of the year, and everybody is just a little bit afraid to throw your hat in the ring for Virginia because offensively they've just not. You can win a couple of games offensively in a tournament, defensively in a tournament. But unless you can score some points, it's going to catch up with you at some point. Somebody's going to get hot. And that's why I think they talked about this year's team being different. This was Tony Bennett's best offensive team. And when you say that, that's not even giving it justice because it was his best offensive team by a mile. So, that's kind of what it went to. And you can't, in today's world, I mean, this would have been my heyday right here. Like I hated defense when I got to Indiana, and I learned to love it playing through Coach Knight. But I would have loved the offensive being such a big part of it, and you had to be able to shoot and be on the floor, and that would have been right up my alley. So yeah, it was. It's changed a bunch, and you're seeing teams that I think used to not be as up and down. I mean, Duke didn't used to be as up and down shooting 3-pointers as they are now. And they are. So they're adapting. Everybody's adapting to the way the game's going right now.
We watched a lot of Indiana games, like you said, this year. What does this Indiana team have to do? What do they have to add to get better next year? Obviously, Romeo's gone. Jawan Morgan is gone. So they lose those aspects. What does this team need to do better next year? I mean, some of it's obvious, but there's more intricacies that only people like you who have played the game can really see.
Well, I think if you look back on one of the things we just hit on game after game during that big losing streak was the fact that this team didn't have an identity, and they didn't. We couldn't say, hey, they're a defensive team or they're a 3-point shooting team. They just did not have an identity, and they can't go through the season and be in that circumstance again. I mean, that was basically what January 1 through mid-February, where they didn't even know who they were, and it was a struggle to watch them. Even there were some very difficult games to watch Indiana play in, and so this team has got to come out, and I think they've got to buy in early on. This will, I think, be a little bit different. You've got Rob Finney, who played substantial minutes and was a big part of it, and I think he'll lead some guys that are coming in. But overall, I think they kind of ended the year on a little bit of a high note, and not making the tournament was tough to deal with. So that's something that hopefully they can hold in the back of their mind and build on for this coming season. But they ended playing a lot better. They ended with a little bit of an identity, and they kind of got a toughness to them. And that's one of Archie Miller's teams that one of the things that they've always done through Dayton was, they were tough. Like you knew you were going to have a battle when you played against them. And I don't know that teams would say that about Indiana, early in the season and through that mid part of the season. Towards the end, I think they kind of got a chip on their shoulder and they played a little bit meaner and tougher. And that's something this new team's going to have to do. And I think they'll do it much earlier than they did last year. I certainly hope so.
One of the pieces that they have been able to add already is a 6'11" Joey Brunk, grad transfer from Butler, like Southport High School. How do you see him fitting in? I think he's going to be a pretty good, valuable piece because he's bringing a lot of experience in addition to size.
Yep, I mean that's one of the situations where you talk about that could be one of the first ones we look at Indiana and say, all right, yeah, that had a really positive impact on Indiana getting better in a hurry. He's a kid I've seen play since obviously he was in high school, and I kind of thought that he would have more of an impact at Butler in his first couple of years. I'm kind of surprised that he didn't. And in having that experience and having those years and opportunities to play and practice and those things, I'm excited to see how he can transition that into being at Indiana. I mean, it's not like Butler is a mid-major anymore. I mean, they're a big-time school and they play great teams every game out. So talent-wise, it's not going to be a big jump for him of who he's playing against. I just think that maybe the system and the scope of everything overall might be more of what he's looking for. And he can give them, if he can give them substantial rebounding and solid rebounding, and obviously offensively, I think he will help out Indiana from an interior perspective. But if he can solidify the rebounding perspective and being able to guard defensively on the interior, having a guy that you don't have to go double team because of size, if he can be that one-on-one defender to take away somebody in the post and Indiana doesn't have to double team, it changes their defensive perspective completely. And it's more of what Archie Miller wants his defense to look like. It's more of what Virginia looked like. I mean, there was very few guys they had to go double team in the post, and it really hurts your whole defense when you have to go double team. All five guys have to rotate, or all the four other guys not guarding the guy that gets the ball have to rotate when you're double teaming, and that really kind of screws everything up. So I think that will help out as much as anything.
Another discussion that's often brought up, and I was having this with someone on social media the other day, is Indiana kids on the Indiana team. Obviously, I don't think every kid has to be from Indiana, but I think that because Indiana per capita produces as much talent as any state in this country, that if you don't have the ability to recruit in your own backyard, how are you going to have success elsewhere? But so there's that aspect of it, because the talent is right there. And I think that it only makes your program better when your homegrown kids are on that, at least a big part of that program. And not everybody thinks that. They don't think that they just have to come here. And I don't think it has to be every one of them. But I think you need to have the best kids from Indiana should probably be playing for Indiana.
Yeah, I mean, here's kind of how I look at that. And maybe it's more self-serving for me to say it, but when you're saying there's a top talent in the country that's from Indiana, if you analyze that a little deeper, and I'm not saying this is what everybody has to look at it, but this is how I look at it is, Indiana kids have always kind of been known as shooters. Like they're guys who always have a basketball, they're gym rats, they're whatever. They are just, they're guys who can shoot the basketball quite a bit. And when you have an Indiana team like what we had this year that struggled to shoot the ball, and it's not really just this year. They've been several years in a row. They have not been a very good shooting team, and that's what you do, or you're kind of known for, having grown in your backyard. It makes it a little bit more difficult for the fan base to accept the fact that we're getting recruits from other places, and then we're losing guys in our own backyard that can actually put the ball in the basket. And so when you have games where you score 45 points against Purdue, that stands out to you at that point. Purdue took some guys that were good shooters and they had them on their team and they beat us and we only scored 45 points. Those are things that stick out in that regard. I don't, from watching the games with me, I'm not a huge fan of just recruiting guys that are rated really high, because those ratings, 99 times out of 100, those ratings are done by people who never played and have no idea. They're rating guys based on their athletic ability for the most part, and their size. And a lot that does have a lot to do with it. I mean, you take a Zion Williamson, obviously, they got that one right. But then you take, there's a lot of other guys that are rated in that 10 to 25 that you never hear of again. And that's because they were just big and maybe athletic, but they didn't know how to play, and they don't take coaching very well. And, I'd like to see a 1 through 100 when they rate guys on how well they listen and how well they're able to be coached. I'd love to see that list, because I can guarantee you it wouldn't mirror the one that's 1 through 100 right now. So, the recruiting thing is, it's one of my pet peeves. I can't stand those rating systems because they're so political. They're so based on things that don't make teams better. They're players that are fun to watch for the most part.
Yeah, you talk about this tournament being the best ever, and that's how I feel. It was incredible. You look at the Final Four, I think there were zero one-and-dones in there. They had no impact on it, and they really haven't had an impact on the national championship throughout this whole process. So, and then you look at an Auburn team that knocked off Kentucky with a pair of guards that were a combined 1.5 stars maybe. These guys were that one guy, he's like, I wasn't recruited by anybody. He was ranked the 300 and something player in the country, but they hung 50 points on Kentucky to get to the Final Four.
Yeah, those are, those stories are not as rare as what that sounds like. We're making that out because it was a big one that was on a national stage to go to the Final Four. Yeah, that's huge. But there's a lot more of those than just that. And those rating systems, I'm not being a disgruntled guy who doesn't feel like he didn't get to play enough. I truly look at it from the perspective of I've loved when we were warming up to play a game in AAU or in high school or whatever it was, and you look down at the other end of the floor and everybody's just really athletic. Nobody can shoot. Nobody is shooting mid-range jump shots, and everybody's going in and trying to dunk and see how high above the rim they could get. Those were my favorite games, because I knew all we had to do was pack it in. They couldn't hit anything. If we could rebound, we would win by 30. And, those are the games. Those are the guys who don't get, a guy like me is not ranked anywhere in the top whatever. I'm in the top million just because I have no athletic ability. And I can't, there's a million of me, and there's not a million guys who can jump and, 360 dunk and do all kinds of crazy things. It's fun for me to watch too, trust me. But I'd rather watch it in a warm-up line than I would in a game, because you put those guys in a game and they can't play. And so, that's why the ranking system is such a job. I mean, I can tell you right now, if you put things in the right, you called the right people, I could get somebody ranked pretty highly here in the state of Indiana if I wanted to by the end of the day. So it's not as cut and dry as what everybody thinks, where those are legit rankings.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of harkens back to one of the funniest things Bob Knight ever did was create Ivan Renko. He created a fake guy, and people bought right into that.
Oh, yeah. Everybody wanted, he was going to be the best player ever played in Indiana. Yeah.
But, it's
there's actually, I think I've told you there's a crazy backstory to that, but sometime, if I haven't, I'll tell you that later.
I'd love to hear that. Has the game been affected too much by these rankings, by these players that are ranked high, but they're really not better than guys that are going to Hofstra or whatever the case may be?
You know, I think when you say is the game affected by it, I mean, you know, how do we say that it's not negatively affected? Because we are both admitting this was an awesome tournament to watch. I think after last year's tournament, everybody was saying this was an awesome tournament to watch. So the final product is ending up being, I think, what we enjoy and what we like watching. But you know, I think there's a lot of kids that get overlooked. I know I have talked to I've talked to several head coaches across and several assistant coaches throughout the country in the last 5 or 6 years through AAU basketball. And these are guys that I know and I've played with and I know that went to Indiana and stuff like that. And, you know, it's amazing. They even find themselves falling victim to the rankings, and they want to go see this guy play. And, you know, it'll be an AAU tournament in a city, and they don't ever make it out of the gym where all the Nike players are playing, or they don't make it out of the gym where the Under Armour players are playing, because they want to make sure that one guy knows that they were there the whole time. And, you know, they're recruiting Nike guys, or they're recruiting Under Armour guys. And I think with the people that got in trouble last year and the schools that got in trouble for it, you know, hopefully some of that will go away. But the actual rankings won't, because the people who set those rankings are guys who make a lot of money running a Nike event or running an Under Armour event or running an Adidas event. And that's, hey, they're entrepreneurs. That's what they're in the business for, and they're doing a great job of it. But let's not turn them into basketball people, because 9 times out of 10 with those guys, they don't know a whole lot about what it takes to win in basketball. They might know how athletic a guy is, but they don't know what it takes to win.
He's solid gold. He's Todd Leary, and we can't be any happier to have him, brother. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great weekend.
You do the same, buddy.
Will do. Talk to you soon. Todd Leary, former Hoosier Baller. That's going to wrap up the show for this week. We appreciate you guys joining us. Make sure you tune in back on Monday. For Justin, Jake, I am Jim Coyle, and I will see you on the radio.